Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Bartholomew, and Rebecca Watson, aka Skepchick, has a video that refers to my article in the Skeptic magazine on Havana syndrome as, quote, embarrassing and sloppy. And this is based on her researching the topic for 1 week. The title of the article, It's the Russians, was in response to the recent 60 Minutes program suggesting that Havana syndrome was caused by Russian attacks. I see that her video's been up now for 2 days. She's got 41,000 views. So I thought I would make a response to her video just to clear up any misimpressions that people could get from her video. Number one, she says in 2017, many of the diplomats in Cuba, quote, were attacked multiple times at work and at home. Point of fact, there are no reports of Americans being attacked at the American embassy in Havana. Also, it wasn't just diplomats, it was intelligence officers, and it started with intelligence officers. Issue number two, she says that I am, quote, vehemently insistent that Havana syndrome is a mass psychogenic illness. That is misleading because it can give people the impression, I think it's all mass psychogenic illness. I have always said that many victims were simply redefining an array of health complaints under a new label, Havana syndrome. Issue number three, Rebecca writes about criticism of the early JAMA studies, the Journal of the American Medical Association. Quote unquote, okay, so we have possibly flawed earlier studies. That is factually incorrect. We don't possibly have flawed earlier studies. The earlier JAMA studies were flawed. They were so bad, there were calls for them to be retracted. In my book with neurologist Bob Ballo on Havana syndrome, we point that out, and we point out the many, many flaws there, as have a number of other scientists. So it's not possibly. Then she writes, quote, I find it gross and inappropriate to claim that an MRI study failing to find evidence of brain damage is a definitive debunking. Here she is referring to Michael Shermer, the editor of the Skeptic magazine, because the word debunking never appears in my article in response to the 60 Minutes program. I'll let Michael Shermer defend himself. My point is, I never said it. So section 2, where she deals with the 60 Minutes segment on March 30th of this year, in my Skeptic article, It's the Russians. Now let's keep in mind, that's the article she says is embarrassing and sloppy. This section by Rebecca is filled with so many inaccurate claims. I don't have time to go through them all. So many examples of putting words in my mouth and claiming that I've said things that I never said. Quote, he complains that all the spies they interviewed were kept anonymous because I guess Bartholomew assumes that 60 Minutes failed to fact-check their sources and only he can confirm these people's stories, unquote. I have never challenged any of these people's beliefs. It's not about confirming their stories. I've never said they're lying. Their symptoms are real. I've always said that they appear to be honest, sincere people who have anomalous health incidents. I believe them, just like I believe that most people who report seeing Bigfoot or UFOs are not lying. I contend that their symptoms were caused by something other than a sonic or microwave weapon. A lot of what she says in this section, it's hard to follow, it's vague, and to be certain of the point she's trying to make, I'm not really sure. Like the mention of the David Relman interview being an old clip. So if she was implying that I wasn't aware of that, I actually critiqued that clip in an earlier issue of The Skeptic, which was the cover story. Apparently she didn't see that issue. She writes about the nurse who claimed to have been attacked. Quote, he criticizes one woman because she says the man she saw lurking outside her house when she was attacked looks like a Russian agent. Number one, we don't know that she was attacked. She had a health issue. So Rebecca shouldn't be using the word attacked here. Second, I'm not criticizing the woman. I'm criticizing her claim that she was attacked and suggestions that it was some kind of an energy weapon. My third point about brain fog being a symptom of anxiety. She says, I'm engaging in a common tactic known as poisoning the well. No, I'm just pointing out that it's a symptom of anxiety. Why would I point that out? Because a sign of, why would I point that out? Because a significant number of Havana syndrome subjects in the recent National Institute of Health studies had functional neurological disorders, a form of psychogenic illness, which are driven by anxiety, and that's a symptom. Number 3, Rebecca says that when it's revealed the woman in the 60 Minutes interview had several surgeries to fix holes in her ear canals, she claims, quote, he says she's probably got it scuba diving, sigh, and then she starts swearing. That's not true. I never said the holes in her ears were from scuba diving. It is factually inaccurate. What I did say was that there are a number of alternative explanations for having holes in your ears, and I give several possibilities, other than a sonic or microwave weapon, which don't cause holes in the ear canal. So I'm just pointing out other plausible explanations, which I think is pretty reasonable. Because the implication in the 60 Minutes show is that maybe it's because there's some type of secret weapon. So in summary, I have made this video to counter misinformation and potential misimpressions that some people could get from my work from watching Rebecca's program. So here's my constructive critique of Rebecca. She's done some nice videos on other topics. I think here, though, what's the old saying, a little knowledge is dangerous? This is a big topic, and you can't get a full grasp of it in a week. Number 2, swearing doesn't really add anything to your argument. You may get more clicks and views from certain teenagers, but it doesn't really improve your argument. And number 3, when you accuse someone of writing an article that is quote unquote embarrassing and sloppy, I would say get your own house in order first and get your facts straight. That's all. Have a nice day.